New York Raining featuring Rita Ora.
Yeah.
By our guest at this time on Ebro in the Morning, Charles Hamilton is in the building.
Yay!
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Gotta tell you, I have been looking forward to the return of Charles Hamilton for a minute. We've expressed contact towards each other like indirectly, but never talked. Like I've asked people like, "What's up with him?" And you sent me a tweet at some point. I sent you a tweet at one point, and like just been sort of waiting. I have a million things to ask you. If you're comfortable talking about a million things,
I can't wait.
So for people who don't know, Charles Hamilton, in my opinion, was the first huge blog rapper. Or certainly was in the first generation, the first handful. Someone whose potential, as people saw it, like grew so fast, and there was so much conversation that like expectations almost went to a crazy place. And then, for a variety of reasons that we'll come to understand, it went away, or you went away. And you left the scene, and we never got the true debut Charles Hamilton album. And all the potential that we talked about has not yet been seen. And so a lot of people like myself who know what you're capable of are very excited to see you back again. So I guess the first question that everyone wants to know is, what exactly happened to Charles Hamilton?
I became more introverted. I was already an introvert, but it made more sense for me to try to make sense of myself outside of the public eye than to find myself in front of everybody and continue to be caught up in what can be considered bloopers. I found myself on defense a lot. I've said this a number of times. I only pay attention to the negative comments. So I wasn't aware of anybody's foresight of me. I was really just trying to make the negativity go away.
Let's stop there for a second, because you just said something so interesting that no one likes to talk about, and it's something I suffer with myself. I think everyone who's in the public eye, I think, suffers from this. You only notice the negative comments.
Correct.
And that's horrible. Because,
of which there are probably much less than positive comments.
Because it's funny because we've been having this conversation about how we've even gone as far as to change things about us that normally we would be okay with. Like I wanted to get my veneers, get new teeth, because I was like, at first I was comfortable with like my chipped tooth and my crooked teeth, and all of a sudden, because I get slander by these trolls, I was like, maybe I should get new teeth, And then Rosenberg, you just recently got
I whitened my teeth.
Your teeth white because one person told him that he needed to change
I didn't like
that.
the tone. It had to be fixed. No, it's ridiculous, and it's something that a lot of people. Wale and I have discussed this many times as well. He's someone who, like, he could see a million positive tweets, and that one negative one he's going to reply to. Did people try to tell you why do you pay attention to the negativity?
Well, I had nobody around.
Yeah, you didn't really. You were kind of moving as your own entity.
Yeah, like I stayed in my home studio. When I saw you at South by Southwest, that was like the first time I left the house in ages. Like I stayed in my home studio and just worked on music. And like once I got like a sense of direction, I had a few conversations with like some very pivotal people. Once I got a good sense of direction as far as where I should go creatively, I honed in on it. And that kind of interfered with the tour life. So I really didn't hit the road much. I was like a staple at SOBs. I only performed places I was comfortable at, because I didn't leave my house, and I didn't, not to speak on anyone's character, but I didn't trust anyone because I had so much to lose, and I didn't want the music to be the reason why I lost anything. Like
how'd you build it? How did you become this early internet star online? How did that happen?
I don't want to take all the credit for it. That's a combination of management. I'm really good on computers. Like I had my own blog, so I was always trying to direct traffic to my blog. So it was cool to be on, a upstart hip hop blog here, or a hip hop blog that's already getting circulation. But I wanted everyone to look at my point of view, because I wasn't trying to hurt nobody. Like I might have had my opinion, but my opinion was based on information that I very, very discreetly paid attention to. So I didn't slander anybody on my blog, but what began to happen was I would get fans just coming on my blog just to hate, and I was like, yo, take that hate to some other site, because like this is my personal blog, and I'm kind of on edge about comments on my music because my music is very personal. Thankfully, like I never, like, official critics never said anything bad about my music. The only thing people said was they were tired of hearing me talk about a certain anthropomorphic creature, and I was like, all right, as much
Sonic. Is that what we're talking about? Laura may not know. She
No,
doesn't
I don't know. I don't know what
that
you're
was
talking
the thing.
about.
So that was the thing people talk about. Okay, and so that they people were upset with you for referencing it too much, like they were bored of something, which was
Right.
everyone could pick about something that someone does.
But you know what's crazy? Being that he was one of the first to bubble up online, now you think about it, but like it's probably like some 7-year-old little kid that has no life, you know. But back then, you didn't realize like you really took it super personal.
right, because when I believe in something, I stand for it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that was a Drake quote.
Yeah.
But I put all my eggs in one basket. I put all my beliefs forward as an olive branch to the rest of the world. Like I'm not just a rapper. I'm offering a very fresh perspective on something we've all kind of been wondering about subconsciously, and I'm not gonna go too far into it, but I just felt that the negative comments were both predictable and mean-spirited, so I had to be 10 steps ahead of the next insult. So that might have led to some really potent lyrics, and I definitely know it led to some potent production, because like I used to spend hours digging through the crates looking for the right record to talk about how I felt about such negativity, because such negativity can exist. Not so much what was said, it's just you could say that this is why I'm responding to it.
Right.
Came up the other day in the room when the interview came up, and some people were asking about like what happened with your career, and I was kind of trying to describe it, and I was like, well, he was really hot. He had a record called Brooklyn Girls, which we just played,
Right.
that got going, and people were into it, and then it seems like he kind of became a target for a lot of hate online, and then it was fueled by a couple of specific incidents, right? Which we have to mention, or I'm the worst journalist in the world, even though you're my friend, and I don't particularly feel like bringing up nasty things. But you know what? If we don't bring it up right now, guess what? It's going to be in every comment from everything you do. The first thing, of course, was being punched by a girl while you guys were kind of battling each other. And
I remember this.
yes, that was a big thing. And to me, that was sort of the beginning of where it really started to go fully left. Can you take us through that at all? I mean, if people haven't seen the video, you allude to something very personal about the woman. There's speculation that you guys were actually dating when you did the freestyle. She punches you. I feel really bad for you in that video because you did probably cross the line in what you said, but also like you got punched in the face, and that's when a girl punches you in the face, how does one even respond to that? And you're just sort of like, whoa, hey, whoa. So take us through that a little bit and what the response to that was, and do you agree that that was one of the things that kind of set this thing in a negative trajectory?
I found that moment to be beautiful, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I was the one who told the videographer to put the video out, and I felt like I had the opportunity to not only make that situation, which was already pretty dark, into a lighter situation. Like, okay, babe, you won. Like, I made a fool of myself, and I allowed this footage to get out there.
So you were dating this girl at the time?
I kind of want to not talk about her.
About that part. Okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like we were together, but like the story is really complicated. So
We don't have to go into the details of
we
the
don't have
complicated
to.
relationship. But
Yeah.
but you said, hey, I'll let that be out there.
Right.
Even though I look like an ass in it, it should be out there.
Right, kind of factoring in, I might have struck a nerve. Like, hey, you know what, you won. Like, she.
Oh, you did. She punched you because of it.
Right.
You know, so like some people can say that was a detrimental moment, but that says a lot about relations in between genders. You know what I mean? Like if I'm gonna have to speak in my defense. If I had hit her back, I wouldn't have the listener group that I want, and I do want women to listen to my music. Like,
of course,
you know, like I may say things that are borderline chauvinist, but I mean them in a monogamous manner.
Do you believe that you did cross the line?
Well, first of all, it was a battle.
So you don't really believe in the lines when it comes to battle?
Number one. Number two, like, I knew what she was talking about in her verse. So it was like, okay, like you're actually going to spit this stuff, like, on camera. Like, if you really want to go there, like...
Then you went there.
So you felt like, because she took a low blow, you were like, all right, so we're here now.
Exactly.
So this is fair game.
And you didn't realize that... And that sort of, listen, I'll say one thing. She sort of broke rule number one of battling, which is you can't physically assault someone because they say something you don't like, no matter how upsetting that may be.
Right.
You don't seem like the kind of guy who would strike back at a woman regardless of circumstance.
Yes,
yeah,
he's a nice guy.
You didn't even really flinch in anger. You were just sort of like, whoa, hey.
All I could do was really smile about it because... there were circumstances around it, like it was boiling up, and when we talked about it later that night, I got my apology, but I had already told the guy to put it out. I was just like, all right, well, here's chivalry. Like, I might have hurt you a little too deep, so here's a little revenge you can have. And then thankfully we saw the same camera crew 2 nights later, and I apologized to her on camera. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And she apologized to me then. So it really wasn't as violent and vile of a situation as it may have appeared.
Of course, and nothing does in a when you see a little microcosm of a relationship in 10 seconds. And then the other thing that was rough for you at that time was the barbershop battle. That's the other thing that people talk about. Who was that with? Serious
Jones.
So
where was that? That was in Harlem?
Mm-hmm. So what was that situation? Tell me. I never saw that video all the way through at the time until recently.
All right. Well, I had gotten a phone call from a friend of mine in the neighborhood who said, yo, Serious Jones at the barbershop. He wants to battle you. And I was going through hell at the time. Mentally. You were just struggling. Yeah. Like, without getting into any details, I was really going through it. And I said, Serious, like, are you gassing me? Because, like, I'm not making a YouTube moment. I'm not trying to make nobody hot. Like, if he wants to battle, like it's got to be on some understand where I'm coming from. Like, I'm not smiling or being friendly. So I dressed up as bummy as I could so he could have all the ammunition in the world, and I walked down to the barbershop, and I went in and hit, like, everything he said I knew he was going to say, because I had dressed like I put on a bootleg Hello Kitty hat. I had on a blazer from the thrift store.
And at this point, people already had the jokes about you that there were, like, about that you would wear certain weird things. Like, right. You knew what you could feed into, because it was an existing commentary people would make about you.
Right, but everyone in Harlem already knows I dress weird.
Right. You
know what I mean? So, like, Harlem really, like, everyone in Harlem bigs me up for it, and, like, shout out to the entire Harlem. So, like, I really have nothing to complain about uptown, but, you know, I felt a certain kind of way that when I walked into the barbershop, it, like, there was so much that the video didn't capture, and the dude who ended up videotaping it was, like, hyping it. So I was just like, oh man, you're making it worse. You know, like, it wasn't once again, it wasn't as bad as it looked, but I made it look worse just so somebody could have ammunition to diss me, so I can either be out the game or be straight 8 Mile it.
Right.
And, you know, like, results may vary, but I definitely said my piece. Like,
What do you feel? Some people would say that the first is what happened, is that it ended up exiling you from the game to a certain extent.
all right, cool. I didn't like. There's some at the time, the kind of music I was making, I didn't really want the world to hear. I only wanted a selected amount of ears to hear it because I was coming from a very personal and genuine place. I didn't care who was downloading my music. I didn't know who was downloading my music. I would have people say, "Yo, I heard somebody bumping." Let me pick a random song. Like somebody was bumping your song, Anyone, in a Jeep the other day, and I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. Like I didn't believe it. I didn't care to believe it because I wanted the attention of about 3 or 4 people, and I wasn't sure whether they were listening or not.
Who were the people you wanted attention from?
I'm gonna keep that to myself.
That's to yourself.
Yeah.
Are you now in a different place where you just want to make good music? I mean, the song that you just played, which sounded great, New York Raining with Rita Ora, that sounds like a record that could go in like, you know, sort of the way Brooklyn Girls was. Not an attempt at a super mainstream record. It's a hip hop record, but it's certainly mass appeal. So are you in a different space now? Do you feel more comfortable with those 4 people who you were trying to get to hear you?
Those 4 people ended up evolving into an entire like continent. You know what I mean? Like my management team they're not necessarily based in the United States. So the fact that people from abroad were listening to my music with a very microscopic ear and were like picking up on some very key pointers that I was trying to make as far as, you know, struggling with my own happiness. You know, nobody ever asked me if I was happy. You know what I mean? And my management team actually cared. So now I'm going from making music to just vent, to making music that people in a high position can connect to trying to please them, to finally trying to reach out to the world. Like I had to climb back up in the self-esteem measure.
And how did you end up linking up with Rita Ora?
We have the same management team, but I always had a little, not a crush, but like.
Of course you did. You're a human. You're a human male.
I mean,
human male. We all do.
I think we all do.
I stopped having crushes on celebrities. Like,
why?
You know, because it's not like high school anymore. Like you can't, you know, write a note like, "Do you like me?" yes or no, and like hand it to the chick. Like you got to go through a whole bunch of other stuff. And, you know, it's not as simple as writing a love song and then hoping to get a response.
But I don't look at it like that.
No,
you
I don't
know?
think so either.
I think, you know, sometimes not all love stories are perfect.
And by the way, I think also it makes sense that in your coming back, I mean, listen, you've got a great situation now and people are looking out for your best interests and people who want you to win. And you came from a really complicated place. So I think it makes sense to be very guarded, you know, as you move along, to make sure you handle yourself well. But also, I know that you're a good guy. And you know what I'm saying? I think you can trust in yourself to be a good guy and that people are going to take to you. Listen, some people are going to jump on the comments on this and everything we do and say, you sound like a fucking pussy. You're this, you're that. He was fucking Sonic the Hedgehog. But they're still going to be there. And in fact, because you're honest and vulnerable about it, they don't go... Loser trolls don't go, you know, I respect the fact that he was honest about it. They don't do that. So all you can do is know that you're a good person and know that there are a lot of people really excited. Because the funny part was that for me, when things appeared to have at least imploded and like Charles kind of went away, I was someone who would be like, guys, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Charles Hamilton's one of the most fucking talented guys around. Like, I'm not saying that I thought at that moment I knew that you were capable of dropping a song that would have made sense and worked. I don't know. I didn't really know the place you were in. I just had seen you in the studio making music before and knew what you, like, your brain operates on a very interesting level. You know what I'm saying? And the things you write are super duper interesting, and there are gonna be lots of people who gravitate towards it. Do you feel that now more than before you're ready though for the other bullshit that's going to come with this?
I would like for you to elaborate on this other bullshit, because
the hate, the same shit talking that you already had to deal with once before,
right?
That is inherently going to happen again. It happens to us every day.
I mean, I just have to believe in the power of positive thinking. It was a book by Norman Vincent Peale. Like, I read the book in the 5th grade. I just chose not to follow it.
But why do we do that? Why do we choose to ignore that shit when we know? Listen, there are other artists too. There are other artists around, I don't know if you know that, who also get too caught up in thinking about all these things. I know tons of them. And like I said, I'm a victim of it myself. I'll talk shit about them. I'll be like, man, why do you always worry about that stuff? And then the other day I woke up and I looked on Twitter on Sunday afternoon. The first thing I saw was like a series of tweets of people talking shit about me. And it started off my day in a shitty way. And I'm like, ew, no one wants to read, even if they're nameless, faceless people. None of us like to read just nasty words about you, as much as we know sticks and stones and all these different things. So I guess what I'm asking for, it's a rhetorical question. I just want you to be prepared for it. And I want to see you win this time, because I think that your story was supposed to play out more. I'm so thankful that we're going to get this second shot at it, because a lot of people don't. It's just, I mean, let's look at the class. The Charles Hamilton class you'd say it was you. B.O.B. was around the same time-ish. Asher was around the same time. Who else would you say that you remember was?
Wale, my homeboy Mickey Fax. Shout out to Mickey
Fax. Yep.
I think Currency, Corey Guns, Kid Cudi.
What a diverse fucking list in terms of what those people went on to do, right? You have people who live in their own fucking stratosphere, like Kid Cudi, who can do whatever they want and drop weird albums that I buy the second I see them and I hear it, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean in a bizarre way. I love 2 albums ago. The last album was super fucking bizarre, but it doesn't matter what he does. He has this incredibly built-in fan base. He acts. He does a million different things. And then you have other people on that list we don't know what they're doing, others who are sort of struggling musicians working day to day and doing gigs. You guys ended up all over the fucking map. How do you think the story ends musically for Charles Hamilton? Because now we have a new life here.
I started off as a musician. I started off as a musician, so my focus was always getting my point across musically. So the fact that I was able to achieve certain goals musically, certain personal goals that I set way before the deal and everything, I can almost say, this time around is for the money. But it's a lot deeper. You know what I mean? Like, I did what I set out to do the first time. And, after a while, I felt, why don't I get some more goals? You know what I mean? But I didn't feel it. Like, once again, my happiness was on the line. Like,
that's super interesting though. You really did. The first time you went as far as your goals had really been.
Yeah.
You got a record on the radio, you were popping, you ran the blogs, like that was where you wanted to go and you did it.
Worked with Eminem, worked with Pharrell.
So we're gonna have to stop there for a second. My next question was going to be, during that time, who were the people you got to be around? So what? Eminem, Pharrell. How did that happen? How did the Eminem thing come to be?
That was set up by Jimmy. He just asked me whether I wanted to work with Eminem, and I said this in another interview, but I was like really intense about it. Like, I was excited to work with him, but I didn't want my excitement to overthrow, how serious I was about my own music. So working with Eminem was intense, but it was the kind of intensity that a stan would die for. You know what I mean? And I admittedly was a stan. So I really was excited to hear when he funny story, he pulled up to the studio playing Brooklyn Girls.
In Detroit? This is in Detroit?
In Detroit. Mm-hmm. So I was just like, okay, like this is my favorite rapper playing with everybody. Yeah, like everybody's calling this song out as special. And I'm like, my favorite rapper's listening to this. This is ridiculous. And we shot the breeze for a little bit. We had a good understanding of each other. And though we didn't keep in telephonic communication, like he shouted me out in Double XL, he shouted me out on his last album, and I appreciated it. You know what I mean? And I was going through, like, I was uprooting myself. I was trying to get to the root of who Charles Hamilton is. So I shunned Eminem for a little bit. Like, he became such a part of me as an artist that I had to shun him and rebuild myself. Like I said, like the entire time I had a deal and was in the quote-unquote spotlight, I was building on myself. So you were looking at a work in progress. So for you to find me to be a great guy, like that's, thank you. But working with Eminem, like I said, was very intense, but it was a great feeling.
How'd the Pharrell thing happen? Same thing? Was it through Jimmy also, or?
Well, Pharrell had called Jimmy when I was in LA. I was gonna take a meeting with another label, and Pharrell called Jimmy and said, "If you let Charles leave LA, you're making the biggest mistake of your life." And from there, you know Joe Weinberger,
I know by name.
3H. He hooked me up with Pharrell. I sat and met with Pharrell, and we talked. I played him some beats. He let me know what his vision was at the time. And I was like, I was an NERD fan too, so I wanted to like jump at like yes, like whatever you want to do, like I want to run with you. But I had my own vision, and I wanted to have my own echelon next to Pharrell as opposed to coming up under him.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked together in the studio, and like he's such a visionary that you can get lost in his vision. Like I had tunnel vision, and I was just like, "Yo, you're an absolute genius." Like I was in the studio bugging out, like, "Yo, you're insanely dope," and like the feeling was mutual. So we started, like we kept in touch, but I lost my BlackBerry, and it had his number in it. So like the reason why I wasn't in solid communication with Pharrell over the years is because I didn't have contact with him. But, you know, I kept them in my heart. I always listened to NERD. And yeah, that's kind of where I have to leave it.
Was there anyone else that you heard from during that time when you were scorching and that were reaching out?
I was in the studio with Lionel Richie.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that was really dope. Like he I don't know how he got wind that I was even in the studio. I didn't even know how he knew who I was. But he came into the studio and he was like, "Play me something." and I played him like 2 or 3 beats, of which I sampled him on. He didn't even recognize himself.
You were like, "I'm gonna play you some shit and he didn't even realize that's what it was.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh man, that's swagger. That's swagger. I like that. That's swagger." That's his exact words.
So we talked about some of the artists that you worked with when you were scorching, right? But what about when you decided to to step back a little bit? Who reached out to you to check up on you, and
there was a point in time, and I want to make this very clear. You got to be on the lookout for this dude.
Okay.
There was a point in time where I was done with writing rhymes. I didn't feel physically capable of freestyle, and the only thing I could do was make beats. And I met a man named SKE the Heist Man, and he writes in his head, like he writes his verse in his head, like on some J stuff. I don't know if I can curse, but
yeah.
On some, I can?
Yeah.
Go for it.
On some J shit. Like, he writes in his head, and like he invites you to look at him when he does it. And it's the dopest verses you ever hear in your life. So I watched him do it, and I decided I met him before I went to jail. And I decided, like, I'm gonna write in my head. Like, I'm gonna either freestyle or write him. He said, "No, there's a difference between freestyle and writing in your head." And like he became the Mr. Miyagi of my style, and like he's really one of the dopest artists from the New York area. He's from Long Island. And another artist who I work with is Spud Mac and Easy. It's a total mismatch. Like he's Diesel, with one of them dudes with a big beard, and he's got waves. He's hard, And SKE is a big dude. Like he's like I'm talking about some real thugs.
And where did you meet these guys?
In Long Island.
Okay.
Shout out to Brick Oven, my man Joe, Danny Audio, Frank Mitty. Like they kind of took me in. Like when I lost my house, they allowed me to work out of their studio and like live there. So like I'm indebted to them, but they're very talented. Like don't get me wrong. Like these guys are really dope. And working with Spud, working with SK, I got my confidence up to be able to spit on the mic without writing anything. So I would write hooks in my head. I would lay out the beat. Like I would make, obviously I make beats. So I would like format the beat a certain way. I'd write the hook in my head, write the verse in my head, and just lay it down. The song would be done in like 20 minutes. And I was able to record projects at a ridiculous pace. So much so it was scaring the people around me, like, "Charles, like you can't have 5 albums in 2 weeks. Like, you gotta chill." You know what I mean?
That's pretty amazing, though.
But yeah, like those two cats right there. Also, my cousin Mark Q, he inspired me to get back into writing again. He is vicious with a pen. He's incredibly dope. And my other friend Rome, like they work on the underground circuit. Like they perform at Club Pyramid. SK is gonna be at South by Southwest. Spud I think might be going to South by. But
Are you going to be at South by this year?
yeah,
You'll be doing stuff there.
yeah, the Republic compound.
You mentioned going to jail. When was that?
Late 2010.
For how long?
About 8 months. I probably shouldn't even mention it. My bad.
I mean, well, you guys
Part
figure out
of-
what you
yeah, and
want
it's part of your story too.
to do. Was that a known thing?
Well, it was covered by The Source, Double
Oh.
XL.
Well, then,
Yeah, it's part of your story,
Billboard.
part of your journey.
then I would just be getting yelled at for not realizing it, but I didn't
Yeah.
even realize that was something that happened. Was that traumatic?
It, like, I chose what I did was wrong, and I acknowledged what I did as wrong. I didn't. It's not like I didn't acknowledge it then. Like I knew what I was doing was wrong, and I did it so I can go to jail, and I wanted to go to jail so I can get peace
What were
of
you
mind.
What were you charged with?
Felony assault of a cop.
Oh, well, that'll do it. 9 times out of 10. I'm gonna tell you this right now. That'll send you to jail in a heartbeat.
but why did you want to go to jail?
I needed to
Why would
clear
you
my
think-
mind.
But why there? You thought you would find it there.
What about vacation?
Because like from my perspective, everybody was trying to use me for my talent.
Yeah.
So I was trying to tell everybody, yo, back up, let me figure out what it is I do before I snap, and as soon as I figure it out, I'm gonna come back stronger than ever, provided I'm the one with the problem. So as hard as it was for me, you know, to go against having a clean record, I decided I was going to take my freedom into my own hands. Like, you can't take away the fact that I took my freedom away by breaking the law. And that was the one thing I felt people couldn't take away, because people were online taking away from my talent. People, the way I felt is, if you disrespect my philosophy, you're disrespecting my intelligence. And I pride myself on being articulate. So when I was like, okay, you're going to say I'm not smart, you're going to say I'm crazy. Thankfully, I never heard ugly. If I heard ugly, that'd be a nail in the coffin. But you
have a guy. I mean, you got to read more. Come on, now you'll find it. I find ugly every day. It's everywhere. Ugly gets thrown around the easiest. That's
Jeez, I know.
Laura gets it. Look how hot she.
another water.
I take shots I get shots all the time.
Yeah, Laura gets called ugly and she's smoking. So, but people have thrown the word crazy around with you quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have mental issues that I mean, I think many of us do. Many undiagnosed, many diagnosed, some medicated, some unmedicated. Are you medicated? Do you have issues that you deal with in therapy and things of that nature?
Well, I have been diagnosed with bipolar.
Okay.
It's kind of a heartbreaking diagnosis. I didn't find.
Take your time.
I've always had a problem with depression. I've had a very, 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 very serious problem with depression. Anyone who's listened to my music under the microscopic eye and ear of like my management and, you know, my close friends know that depression is a very, very hot button subject for me. So when my mom intervened right before I went to jail, actually, I've been seeing doctors and they diagnosed me with bipolar, and that's after several misdiagnoses. And when I came back home from jail, I felt like I was justifying the negative comments calling me crazy. So I was just anti anyone who called me crazy, and it felt like people who call themselves fans find the entitlement to call me crazy. So I was anti-fans. So I really only wanted my close friends to listen to my music. Like, yo, I'm getting better. I'm getting stronger. Can you hear my confidence? Like, I need you to believe in my confidence. I don't really care if anybody else believes in my confidence.
And you never thought that maybe someone out there, fans, was possibly going through the same trials and tribulations that were going through your mind and your heart?
You don't, when you go through it, you don't feel anybody else.
No.
Like, you don't, like, no, like, I'm not trying to say no one else
No, of course.
matters,
No, of
but
course.
like,
Yeah.
like when no one else can feel your pain the way you do.
Right.
And if anyone can relate to it, that's a godsend. You know what I mean? Like,
have you had fans reach out to you and let you know I've been going through the same thing? You've really helped me out.
Yeah, and I doubted them. I didn't believe it. I thought they were trying to impress their friends. Like, look, I gave Charles this sob story, and now he thinks I'm his friend. I'm about to go shit on him. You know what I mean? Like, it was a very borderline psychedelic experience because I didn't have a internet marketing team. I was handling all the internet, so like I was getting messages from fans, getting messages from parents.
That's heavy.
You know what I mean? So I was just like, you mind not calling me your bitch? You say like this is my personal account, so I can snap back if I want to. Say, oh, dude, I didn't know you were running it. I just thought I could talk to you like that because I feel like you're my friend. It's like I know that's how you talk to your friends, but
I'm not that into it.
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And like once I explained to them, like with a gentleman's approach, that you can hold a conversation with me and you can hold a highly esteemed conversation with me and not be caught off guard.
Right.
By your answers or my answers. Like, you don't, I speak colloquially. I call any race I don't care what race you are, I call you my nigga. You know what I mean? And I'm sure there's some backlash for that. But
so now that you have a team, right? Are you more open to let them handle certain aspects of like your marketing,
most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
So you learn to disconnect more and just understand that you can't control all of the craziness that goes on online.
Exactly.
You could only be who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you do
live and let die.
And you do have a very strong team in place. And now, when are we going to get an album from Charles Hamilton?
Third or fourth quarter.
Last thing I want to ask you, this new management situation, new label situation, where did this all come from?
I had a performance in 2012 at SOB's, and my longtime manager, Leroy, he was running things at SOB's.
Yeah.
So he invited a few members from the Turn First family to the show, and like a week after the performance, they wanted to have a meeting with me. They're more like family, so like it's not really business when it comes to them. So like I'm learning on how highly to speak of them, because a lot of people don't speak highly about their managers.
I know, but I know what you mean.
But like I'm trying to work on like how crazy about them I am. Like they're really dope.
No, I understand. I talk about my agents all the time. People think it's very weird,
know,
but I love them. But they're like my team. So if you have really good management who loves you, they become sort of like your team. But you're accustomed to rappers kind of only treating their boys like their team, and like management like people who are just cut checks. And an ideal situation isn't like that, in my opinion. So I'm happy for you. I'm happy you found a great team to be with. We're excited that you're back. We're excited for this new record, New York Raining with Rita Ora.
I'm excited for that record you got with me and Odyssey that you.
Yes, I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to shoot you a copy of that tonight. And actually, I do want to. Once this thing gets moving a little bit, I'm definitely going to unleash that somewhere, like on my SoundCloud when you're ready. I don't want to mess up what you guys are doing, but at some point, I'll feed it out there, because I'm not going to lie, it's a great record. And Odyssey took it back at some point because we didn't put it out. So Odyssey took that instrumental and he put it on one of his instrumental albums, but no one else has ever rhymed on it again. So it's still your record. And
he has something that he hasn't mentioned yet that's pretty major.
What is happening with Charles?
And it has to do with the show Empire.
Charles, you're going to be on Empire?
Yeah, I'm going to be performing on Empire with Rita Ora, New York Raining.
That's huge. That's
a big deal. And by the way, everyone always make jokes about Charles Hamilton being super blog white boy rapper. Now you're on Empire. This is the blackest you've ever been out here, my dude. That's a big deal. All right, so that is very exciting. The song premieres on Empire next week, and Charles is performing. And Charles also said, "Yo, can I rap?" And I was like, "Hold on, you trying to rap?" He said, "This is what I do. I rap." And I was like, "Well, it's a good point. You do rap."
Ooh.
Charles Hamilton, Uptown.
Get ugly here. Yo.
Real late.
Real late. Off the top like a steel plate. Still can't feel me in my weight. I'm too skinny. Move any mountain like Moses. The dopest. Got 'em looking for the locusts. way too deep with my focusness. I broke the synth, it's like a sample now. My fault, Premier, you can't stand the sound of Hamilton getting down right now. Blow right now if you down enough. I'm down in my chucks, but I'm not brown enough to be Chuck T. It's more like Chuck E. Cheese when I'm smiling. I appease those when I'm freestyling. Peace out when you figure out how deep the island is. When I'm freestyling to this. This is that classic shit, the magic shit. About to hand off the magic stick, get real celibate so I can get deeper in the groove. People, you assume that the kid ain't spitting ether, the groom of the mic is the bride. Pause, kinda like a 5-year-old slide to Mr. Jackson, ripping tracks when it's just me getting back in my badminton cap. My fault, backwards cap, like Ash Ketchum, I stay black and catch up if you mustard fans say I'm delirious. Face covered in mayo, you'll take me serious. I refuse to be lost in my delirium. Throw it up, you ain't even hearing them. Leave you right where you stand. I ain't even got the mic in my hand. This is what I do for life, goddamn. Every time I spit, it's like I write with my hand, but it's all in my mind. Word to my mans in Hamilton, getting down in the land of Island Long. I am strong. Bench pressing tracks like I am on a bench, lifting up. Give a fuck, I got management for that. You goddamn right, Hamilton is back, jamming on the track. This is what I do now. I grew up, these little niggas grew down. Shouts to Childish, that's a gamble low. Y'all listening to the Hamilton show. If I big a nigga up, he becomes a bigger nigga. What? Nah, I got bigger nigga nuts. Too ridiculous, this is justice. Fuck it though, I'm upset and uplifted. This cup got me going, but it's aqua H2O. Understand the subliminal, the criminal of it all. But once he gets that, it's over. That was her walls. I had to give a shot at somebody I'm close to real quick just to provoke dude on some ill shit. Too dope, like Shaggy. Don't even ask me why I'm blacking. No jack me, but I grab Janet and give the nation rhythm. I stay spitting in this system. Now bring the beat back, Rosenberg. I'm spitting the dopest words. My whole life is spoken word. I'm too dope for these herbs. You get it? That was too dope of a sentence. I can keep going, been flowing for a minute. Primo on the track, Jada on the ad-libs, Charles Hamilton blacking with the magic. Possibly the East Coast Kravitz or Madlib, just depends on if you're jacking for beats like I could be. Far from a rookie, trying to get some cookies like I stole some. Had to clean it up cause you know who's looking. Oh man, so professional and good looking. I'm so charming and disarming. No alarmo or Sloman shield. You know I'm real Rosenberg. I'm like Holyfield. Niggas stay biting my ear and end up with a crown. End up on stage downtown. Tyson, word to the mic one. I ain't even writing. Damn girl, is this exciting? You ain't got a smile on your face. I'm wildin' in this place. She's smiling and she like, this freestyle is not a waste. Rosenberg cracking a laugh. This is just me at the back of the class laughing. Listen to the hook though. I'm the nicest, my man. Why you cut the yo?
Cause the hook gets in the way of that one.
I wanted you to hear the hook in the context of the freestyle though. But peace out though. I'm about to see my home. It's like I'm on the Green Mile. It's like the Green Mile show. Walking giant, talking defiantly. The Rat Rusev, cats can't do this shit. This is music. I refuse to be Cena in any arena, cause I don't wanna clean up. I turn heels like the Marine Corps. And I ain't even gotta see war anymore. I need to be bored, laid back in my b-boy stand, smoking my e-cig, keeping a secret. Gotta go lower than any chick trying to get the dick. My fault, here's the remix. Life's a bitch and she's the chick trying to get the dick. I'm out of here on that. That was the deepest shit. Peace, kid. Headphones, beat it.
Charles Hamilton. And the Cena Rusev reference. Oh my god.
They're so
Thank you,
excited.
Charles.